Today is World Meningitis Day. Every year, the 24th of April is set aside as International Day for Meningitis. The theme for this year is Take Action, Defeat Meningitis. Meningitis can affect anyone of any age, but mainly affect babies, preschool children, and young people. In taking action to defeat meningitis, Nigeria Health Watch took to the street to raise awareness about the disease and to understand what people know.
Meningitis is a disease caused by bacterial infection called meningitis. The effect is on the brain when it covers some tissues on the brain and then spinal cord.
I think it's more of stiffness of the neck. Stiffness of the neck as a result of poor ventilation.
Meningitis is like a disease that happens during heat period.
Transmittable disease that can be caused through sneezing, coughing.
Meningitis in children, at least if we are the parent that do observe very well, some of the children might be jerking. They might be jerking as if they want to have convulse or something like that.
The child, at times you see them restless, vomiting and passes to.
Whenever a child, complains of neck, stiffness of the neck, I think you don't need to be told to see a medical provider or doctor.
For me, the only way, I stand to be corrected, the only way to avoid meningitis, I think, by proper hygiene.
How it can be prevented is staying in airy place. Don't stay in a home that is so populated with people.
There should be adequate, proper ventilation. I mean, circulation of air, fresh air is very, very important. And secondly, avoid overcrowding.
Dr. Ifeanyi Nsofo, a public health expert and director of policy and advocacy at Nigeria Health Watch, gives more insight about the disease.
I think before I define what meningitis is, it's important to kind of describe the brain and the spinal cord, which are two organs affected by meningitis. So the brain is in the skull. The lower part of the brain is connected to the spinal cord. And those two structures are covered by a membrane. And that membrane is called the meninges. So meningitis is basically an inflammation of the meninges, which cover the brain as well as the spinal cord. So meningitis is caused by, different organisms. It could be virus, bacteria, even fungi cause meningitis, cause that inflammation of the meninges that we spoke about. And meningitis affects both children and adults. But if we focus on children, the streptococcus and the Haemophilus influenza are the two commonest ones that cause meningitis in children. And symptoms, how to recognize signs of meningitis in children include, obviously, because it's an inflammation, there will be fever. The child's body will be hot, the child may be vomiting because of it. Because meningitis inflames the meninges that covers the brain and the spinal cord, there may be stiffness of the neck in the child. You see that the child is not able to turn the neck because of the pains of the stiffness. And you see that these different signs and symptoms may be similar to other illnesses, and that's why it's very important that the mother, the caregiver, once you begin to see some of the signs and symptoms, you need to quickly take the child to the health facility. The organisms that cause meningitis are mainly found around the throat, the mouth, the respiratory system, which means that when people cough, when people spit, when people sneeze and use their hands to cover their mouth, and the person has these organisms within, whether the person has signs and symptoms of meningitis or not, it's easy to transmit to the next person. And that's why, for instance, meningitis is commonest, when you have people living in close proximity, when there is not enough ventilation in the rooms and all, and it's really very easy for that to spread from one person to the other. And again, I think because in our own context, and so many other places really where you see that when you have a child, a new baby, people come, they want to carry the baby, they want to raise the baby, they want to kiss the baby. We have to stop all those kind of things because we don't know, what people are carrying. We need to really make sure that that kind of close proximity doesn't happen between the baby and people you're not sure of where they're coming from and what they have.
We hope that you've learned something about meningitis today. Be sure to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. Until next time, take action, defeat meningitis.